Here is the confrontation on the Bill Maher Show. Judge for yourself who is promoting violence.
And that we'd realize that we are far behind in our science and NIH and CDC. We'd be able to attack this very bad disease that's attacking us. We'd be able to attack it. So I think it's about domestic priorities, and I think we need to get the CDC working. We need to get the NIH working, take that money from Iraq, put it here, and begin to fight that disease so people can live.
See, this is part of the Democrats.
I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah. Like I even, you know, boy, sometimes here at CBS, I wish the sound wasn't working.
Jersey is going.
I didn't even know what that asshole is saying. Oh. But you know, see, this is the problem sometimes with government. Hey, do we have some fucking security in this building? Or do I have to come over and kick this guy down out of here? Could you get the fuck out of my building? Hey, ouch, ouch. I'll kick your ass out of here, too. Get her the fuck out.
What is going on here? What's the issue?
Hey. This isn't... Anyway.
You have good friends.
That one's not mine.
Oh. Yeah, this is the problem with live television. I guess it gets around that if you're on live, then the nutcases, yeah, and you are a nutcase, Building 7. Yeah, we don't make the bombs that kill the troops. We make the hate that makes the bombs.
Oh, Jesus.
How come I don't fire my audience department is really the question that's running through my mind right now. Yeah, don't be gentle with them. Ass kicking is what's called for.
Any of these 9/11 truthers who I've been telling you for years are dangerous.
Here are Glenn-Beck's comments about a group of 9/11 widows. As part of their grieving process, they wanted to know exactly what happened that led up to their husbands' deaths. They weren't satisfied with the inaccuracy of what they were being told about 9/11.
You know, it took me about a year to start hating the 9/11 victims' families. It took me about a year. And I had such compassion for them, and I really, I wanted to help them, and I was behind, let's give them money, let's get started, all of this stuff. And I really didn't, all the 3,000 victims' families, I don't hate all of them. I hate probably about 10 of them. But when I see, 9/11 victim family, on television or whatever, I'm just like, oh, shut up. I'm so sick of them because they're always complaining, and we did our best for them. And again, it's only about 10. But the second thought that I had when I saw these people and they had to shut down the Astrodome and lock it down, I thought, I didn't think I could hate victims faster than the 9/11 victims. Any of these 9/11 truthers who I've been telling you for years are dangerous.
On this next section, Glenn-Beck suggests that the military should be used against Ron Paul supporters.
I was thinking this morning, when you enlist in the military, you have to take an oath that says you're going to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. On this program, we talk a lot about the foreign threats. Maybe tonight we should spend some time on the growing domestic one. Well, here's the point tonight. While our foreign enemies are the obvious ones, the physical threat may be developing domestically as well. And here's how I got there. As I told you last week, Ron Paul raised over $4 million in one day. Paul's supporters called the donations, and I'm quoting, a money bomb.
Here he links a political donation campaign for Ron Paul with a terrorist event, and then links Timothy McVeigh to Ron Paul supporters.
It's really not the way I would go, tying my movement in with a historical terrorist attack, especially in post 9/11 America. But hey, I'm a libertarian at heart. I get it. You raise money however you want, as long as you're not blowing other people up. But America, here's what you need to know tonight. Ron Paul's supporters are tapping into something that's very real. It's something that I've talked about on this program for a very long time. The rising tide of disenfranchisement in this country. And it's coming from all sides of the political spectrum. If that feeling of disenfranchisement leads to political discussion, then our system works perfectly. But if fringe elements take that disenfranchisement and turn it into violence, we endanger the freedoms we're supposedly all fighting for. Guy Fawkes, as I understand it, he is basically an old-timey Timothy McVeigh. That he is England's version in the 1600s of Timothy McVeigh, except his bomb didn't work. He's a terrorist,
yes.
Is he not? David, let me go to you, because you were a Marxist in the 60s. You were a radical. You were a guy that was exactly the opposite of where you are now. Is this the same kind of thing, or is this worse than what it was in the 60s with the radicals then?
By Glenn-Beck's own question, he implies that Ron Paul supporters are just as bad or worse than the 1960s Marxist radicals.
Is this the same kind of thing, or is this worse than what it was in the 60s with the radicals then?
Oh, I think it's much worse. So first of all, my parents were communists, and they were part of a vast conspiracy that was orchestrated from Moscow and wanted America to lose the Cold War.
Now it is implied that the actions of Ron Paul supporters are worse than the actions of a conspiracy orchestrated out of Moscow.
Let me take it back the other way, though, David. It's not just the left this time; it's also the right. I mean, Ron Paul supporters are also the right.
You're right. There's a strain of isolationism and anarchy in the American tradition, which Ron Paul is tapping into. I think it's very significant that he chose Guy Fawkes as an image. There are plenty of, unfortunately, libertarian websites which are indistinguishable from the anti-American left these days.
Yeah.
LouRockwell.com and others like that. They totally in bed with the Islamo-fascists and have turned against this country.
And then it is implied that Ron Paul supporters are anarchists, in bed with the Islamo-fascists, and those that have turned against this country.
Where am I wrong? The Ron Paul Revolution. I think it's meant to be a catchy slogan, but I fear some of his fringe supporters are taking the word revolution too literally.